Alrighty, people, welcome back to the channel. 2025 might have just started, but we already have a ton of rumors for Switch 2, both the hardware and the software, but also stuff about the reveal and release dates. A lot to cover over the next few days. However, a rumor popped up on a Reddit last night from a user on Family Boards who was sourcing from a Chinese forum, and it's just a ton of information regarding Switch 2 games, Switch 2 hardware, talk of the PS4 Pro kind of power level that this console will have, just a ton of little tidbits that I thought was really interesting, specifically the games. You know, I like covering the hardware and stuff. It's a lot of fun, but, you know, for me, ultimately, I'm here for the games. I love talking about games, and even if this is all fake, if this rumor is false, there's some very interesting things to talk about when it comes to the future of Nintendo first-party software, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 speculation, theories, discussion, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, this information is all coming from a Chinese Switch forum that a user over on Family Boards has kind of compiled. It's just a ton of little tidbits of information with some pretty potentially massive information if it is actually reliable. But of course, as always, take everything with a grain of salt. So reading from the post from user Forward Backward over on Family Boards here, they said, quote, "A known insider posted a long message regarding Switch 2 in a Chinese Switch forum. I'm going to only translate the key points instead of the whole 9 yards. Please note that the poster made it very clear that this is only a compilation of Switch 2 rumors that they have heard, meaning that they can't vouch for their validity, essentially. So some of this might be real, some of this might be fake. It's all kind of just fun to read through. And even if it isn't a real thing, it's fun to talk about the possibility and speculate as we are. I mean, it's 2025 now. We're days away, potentially, from a reveal of this console, maybe weeks away. And that's really exciting. So let's get the old brain juices flowing here and talk about this thing. So let's just go ahead and kind of read through all this in order here. They said major devs have had access to dev kits for close to 2 years, and indie devs slightly more than one. Dev kit is only a tablet. Joy-Con rails are sealed. The poster thinks that it is an early version. Joy-Cons are not included. Devs have been using a Switch 1 Joy-Con for testing. Of course, this also suggests that Joy-Con will be backwards compatible. They also say here they think that major devs, so like a Square Enix, a Capcom, those kind of developers, have probably received Switch 2 Joy-Cons, while smaller devs are getting like the base Switch 1 Joy-Con, which is actually interesting, depending on how they want to do this and kind of keep everything secretive. If it's true that these major devs have had dev kits for close to 2 years now, if indie devs have had it for about a year, it'd be way more likely that whatever the C button is, right, or whatever secret microphone is on there, that information would leak more likely if indie devs have had it for an even longer time and if they had Switch 2 Joy-Con. So the idea of having them use Switch 1 Joy-Con for testing is actually pretty smart and actually makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. And the idea that major devs have had access to the dev kit for close to 2 years, that's not all that surprising, to be honest, especially if, let's say, they got them in like spring of 2023. We were hearing that they were showing it behind closed doors at Gamescom 2023 with a 4K Breath of the Wild. That's not that far off. I mean, we're coming up on 2 years since Tears of the Kingdom. So that sounds about right, in my opinion. They say here, although the Switch 2 dev kit supports analog trigger, devs don't believe that it's actually used. This is because Switch 1 dev kits already support it for GameCube controllers, but was never used. I know a lot of people want analog triggers. If you don't know the difference, the PS5 and Series X controllers, they have analog triggers, whereas Switch and Nintendo in general, since the GameCube, has had digital buttons for triggers, which basically just means there's only one actual, like, note of inputs, right? If you press it, it's being pressed. That is it. Whereas on GameCube, you can kind of, like, half press it and get, like, a little bit more water coming out of FLUDD, or, you know, your vacuum will be doing a little bit more of or less of a suck in Luigi's Mansion or something. And it's mostly noticeable in like racing games. If you're playing a racing game on PS5 with the DualSense, you can move your car by like very lightly pressing down on the button, or, you know, go full throttle by pressing it all the way. So I would love if that were true. I would love if we got analog triggers on the Switch 2. I don't think it's extremely likely that we will, and ultimately, like, it's a nice thing to have. I don't think it's a necessity, though, but I mean, it would be nice, and it would certainly help make the, like, at least maybe like the Pro Controller has it or something. It would just make it feel more premium, right? It just feels nice, even like beyond the actual functionality of it. Like when I'm playing a PS5 game or something, it's just nice being able to have those different levels of inputs with the triggers. They said that the touchscreen seems more sensitive than before. They said that according to some indie devs, the system workload when running their games is slightly worse than the PS4 Pro dev kit. They also admitted that they didn't do enough optimization. And then the poster emphasized that these indie devs don't know or care much about the hardware specs, such as process node. The above was their unscientific observation. So this has been a huge talking point over the past couple of days. If you missed it, there was a leaked image of the Switch 2 motherboard on, I think it was Facebook. Someone posted it like on their personal Facebook account, and then it, got spread around, and it seems to actually be real. I have not analyzed it too much. I'm not that technically inclined when it comes to, like, literally, I mean, people on family boards and, like, Reddit are literally, like, looking at all of the little chips and everything and, like, figuring out how many transistors are in the motherboard, and it's like, I don't know, man, but there was this big argument over the Switch 2 being 8 nanometer or 4 nanometer, and at first, like, CenturyLeaks and all of them, they were saying, like, oh, it's over, it's 8 nanometer, that's bad, and then everybody was like, well, wait a minute, it's actually like probably 5 nanometers, so I'm not sure where exactly it's sitting right now, but there's been a lot of talk about the Switch 2 specs. I think Tom Warren from The Verge was saying that he thought it was funny that people thought it would be around PS4 Pro level, but the reality is it's going to be around PS4. What I've been saying for like 2 years now is that it will probably be somewhere between PS4, like base PS4 and PS4 Pro. If it's anywhere in that range, that's great in my opinion. If it's less than that, yeah, I would say that's disappointing. But if it is at least base PS4 power level in a handheld in 2025 even, I still think that's great. I know a lot of people disagree. And, yeah, maybe in 2030 that'll be an issue, but hardware is going to get outdated. So if this thing actually does end up being like in the PS4 Pro kind of power level range, that ballpark, in a handheld form factor at a reasonable price point, also that's a very important part of this. That, in my opinion, is that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. I think it's what a lot of developers want. I think a lot of Japanese developers especially will be frothing at the mouth for a handheld that is that powerful. Square Enix being one of the notable ones that would certainly be very happy to support that. They say some of the indie titles made with Switch 2 dev kits have already been released on Switch 1. I'd be curious to know what those are. The eShop submission page for Switch 2 is the same as Switch 1. That suggests that the eShop will be the same for both. I really hope Nintendo fixes the eShop for this thing, man. The eShop on the current Switch is so bad. The PlayStation Store on PS5 is like the only store on any console that actually works somewhat well. And even that's not perfect, but it works pretty dang well. It loads pretty fast. The Switch eShop might be the worst storefront I've ever used for any product of all time. I don't like loading it up. I literally, if I can avoid loading the eShop, I will. I used to like going on the coming soon page and just kind of seeing what's coming out, or maybe going through the deals page and seeing what's on sale. But man, it's gotten worse and worse over the years. And last time I loaded it was probably a few months ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable how bad the eShop is on Switch. And then that's not even getting into like the whole like, well, what about all these like weird AI asset flip games? Like, they need to fix the eShop. This might be a separate topic for its own video, but they need to seriously fix the eShop, not just from the load perspective. Like, I mean, it's very slow. They need to fix that, but also like the categories, and then yeah, getting rid of all this junk food that's on there, man. There's so much slop on the eShop. I'm not even talking about like mobile games anymore. I'm talking like literal AI. If they upload the same game twice and sell it twice with a different title, like that's how bad it is on there right now, man. It's rough. So visibility for like smaller devs or even for bigger games can be really bad on the eShop. PSN and Xbox Live face similar issues, but nowhere near to the extent that the Switch eShop is facing. So if it is true that they're using the same eShop, I really hope that they fix it up before then, because I really don't want to go on my Switch 2 on day one and load up the eShop and see hentai puzzle game. I don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to be the case. So that was kind of like all the hardware and OS level stuff we needed to talk about from this forum post. However, they also had a ton of information on Switch first party software as well as some third party stuff that I find very interesting, because throughout this entire Switch 2 rumor cycle for the past 3 years, we've had various rumors, like tweets and whatever, being like, oh, Assassin's Creed, that's it. That's the rumor. Assassin's Creed coming to Switch. Ubisoft's going to support the Switch too. We haven't really had like any concrete Nintendo first party like information, right? And I'm not saying this is concrete. Like I said, this is just a random Chinese forum post who supposedly has a good track record over there, but we just don't have much to talk about when it comes to speculating like the Switch 2 software. We can say like, oh, a new Mario Kart, Smash Bros, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, right? But to actually get a rumor that has potentially some validity, and then it's also like saying some interesting things, this is very exciting to me, because while I like talking about the hardware, like I said at the top of the video, I'm here for the game. So we have some very interesting things to talk about here. So the first thing here they say is there are some outsourced assets that look like a cart with a driver's seat and a platform for another person to stand on. The user speculates that this is for a new Mario Kart with one person driving and one person attacking. The poster warned that it also could be for a different game, such as the new Sonic Racing. So either Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is going to have a double dash mechanic, or the next Mario Kart might actually have like a double dash thing. And this is something that I never thought would happen, and I still feel like I don't know if I'm that convinced it will happen, but people have been begging for a return to double dash style Mario Kart since Double Dash. Double Dash is a fan favorite entry in the series. A lot of people would put it at the top of their list, maybe next to 8 Deluxe, because 8 Deluxe is so undeniably great. But if we actually got Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart 10, whatever, and it brought back the double dash mechanic, I mean, I've been thinking about like doing a whole video on Mario Kart 10 and how they can kind of switch it up, right? Pun intended. And the thing with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is it's like perfect. Like what do you really do to visually and mechanically make it obviously distinct and maybe even better than Mario Kart 8? Like how do they follow up such a great game? Something like bringing back double dash mechanics actually would really help set it apart from 8 Deluxe, especially when we're talking about, the same eShop being on both consoles. You're going to be able to buy both Mario Karts on the same console. We've never had a platform of 2 Mario Kart games before, like 2 full price ones, right? We have Mario Kart Home Circuit or whatever, but they're going to want to differentiate it from 8 Deluxe, and it being double dash kind of coded, right? If there's some double dash gameplay mechanics in there, that would certainly help. I would love for this to be true. Someone who grew up with double dash was actually my first Mario Kart game. That'd be really cool to go back to that. This is a weird one. He said, someone overheard that for a new Mario 2D game, there's an attempt to recreate a scene from the Mario movie in which one player is in the foreground and another player, local or remote, is in the background to fight through a stage together. So I was thinking about this. There was some stuff in Mario Wonder where like you go through a pipe and you get much closer to the screen, kind of like something you would see in like a 3DS game, right? Like Mutant Mudds had like the parallax scrolling backgrounds, and then there's like layers, and I believe what Wario Land for Virtual Boy was kind of like the start of that entire concept. That'd be cool if they went more in that direction. I just wonder, like, it's weird to me that this person supposedly, and I mean, maybe he has several different sources, but he's hearing about hardware stuff. He's hearing about indie devs and their eShop submission process. He's hearing about analog triggers, but then they're also hearing about Mario Kart assets being made, and then also a bit of information on a new 2D Mario game. Mario Wonder just came out. I don't think it's impossible that they're whipping up another 2D Mario quickly, right? I mean, there was a huge gap in time between New Soup U and Mario Wonder. There was even a big gap of time between Mario Maker 2 and Mario Wonder. So if they don't do Mario Maker 2, or Mario Maker 3, I should say, I mean, Mario Wonder's only a year old, but you could imagine that another 2D Mario game could come out in 2026. That does feel very fast, but it also shouldn't have taken 11 years to begin with, right? So that one feels weird to me. Why are you hearing about this 2D Mario game so early? But also maybe 2D Mario is closer than we would think. I would put that at like 2027. But if that's like a next year thing, 2026 holiday, 2026 sequel to Wonder, that sounds plausible, I would say. Okay, and these next two are absolutely crazy, but it's what made me really want to like make a video about this. So first up here we have, there are some outsourced assets that seem to be for Monolith Soft's Project Cross Zone, but with Nintendo characters. It is speculated to be a Smash-like concept. So there's been so much talk over the past 2 years of like, what is Monolith Soft doing after Xenoblade 3? We'll probably get Xenoblade Chronicles 4 realistically, but like they're going to want to do something new on Switch 2. They were stuck to Xenoblade for so long. Let's get them something new to do on top of Xenoblade. And I think 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I was covering the Chinese leaker over on, I think it's Weibo, and there's this whole like controversy with him, how he like deleted all of his posts and said his countdown, his little Fibonacci sequence was for an Arknights beta, but like that can't be true because the dates don't line up. And that's a whole nother video. But he had posted a screenshot from Project Cross Zone, and it got me talking in that video, like, well, maybe Project Cross Zone 3 is a thing. Maybe it wouldn't be developed by Monolith Soft, but maybe we're going to get a revival of Project Cross Zone from the 3DS, which, if you don't know, is, I believe it's a tactics RPG starring Capcom characters, Bandai Namco characters, Sega characters, and it's just this huge crossover of a lot of Japanese franchises. This is sounding like we might get a Project Cross Zone or a similar kind of thing from Monolith Soft, but with Nintendo characters. So what I'm picturing is like a Nintendo Kingdom Hearts. Oh my god, that would be incredible. And it's something I would be very okay with Monolith Soft working. Monolith Soft is my favorite Nintendo developer. I don't want them working on too many things that I'm not that interested in. But let's say we got like an action RPG developed by Monolith Soft, maybe it would have more turn-based elements. Maybe it'd be a tactics game like Project Cross Zone is. But if we got another Nintendo crossover game that isn't Smash Bros, Monolith Soft making like some grandiose Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, whatever crossover game would be incredible. And maybe we get some more cutscenes like in the Subspace Emissary. Like, this would be incredible. And it would also like make make Smash Bros. Feel like less of like we need to constantly have Smash Bros. Happening, even if this is a very different game. I mean, Smash Bros. Probably should always be happening with new characters. It would be awesome to have another Nintendo crossover game. I mean, we don't have that. We had Nintendo Land on Wii U, and I love Nintendo Land, and I would love to see something like that. But if we got like a proper story, action RPG, or some sort of, maybe some sort of weird turn-based combats, Project Cross Zone with Nintendo characters, maybe just Nintendo characters, maybe Nintendo characters in Project Cross Zone 3, so you have like Ace Attorney and stuff in there. Maybe that would happen, but I feel like if Monolith Soft's gonna make a new crossover game, a new Project Cross Zone, I don't think Nintendo would do the Bandai Namco stuff and the Capcom stuff. I think they would just do, like I said, like a Nintendo Kingdom Hearts kind of thing, where it's just all these worlds kind of clashing together with some sort of new storyline. You'd probably play as Mario, I guess, or something like that, but that's really intriguing. I kind of hope that's true. It's not technically a new IP, right? A lot of people want Monolith Soft to be working on this new medieval fantasy IP. I've long said I think that was just Tears of the Kingdom, that concept art of the girl with the dragon. But if they're making like a Nintendo crossover game, like a new Project Cross Zone, but just with Nintendo characters, that would be very, very cool. And then this next one is even weirder to me. They said the dev team of ARMS seems to be working on a custom Robo sequel. Now, what I find weird about this information is that the dev team of ARMS is the Mario Kart team. So why are you leading with ARMS, right? Like when Mario Kart 8 finished development, they started development on ARMS. They also did 8 Deluxe at the same time, but that is one team making that game. So is it believable that not only is Mario Kart Next done, right? The next Mario Karts, is it possible they're also working on the next thing after that? And is it possible that that's custom Robo of all franchises? Now, you all know me. I have a pretty wide breadth of knowledge when it comes to even like lesser known Nintendo franchises. Custom Robo is one that I frankly do not know much about. I don't know if that's a good fit. I guess ARMS being in an arena, you kind of have a similar thing there. Custom Robo was made by a developer called Noise, and supposedly that developer is still around, but they haven't worked with Nintendo in a while. Would Custom Robo be worth bringing in-house? Like, I feel like they would just make a new mech thing. Nintendo's been on a roll recently when it comes to reviving dead franchises, and Custom Robo is one that I wouldn't be shocked if Custom Robo is happening. I'm shocked that it could potentially be the Mario Kart and ARMS team. That's what's weird to me, because I feel like if this team was going to do something that wasn't Mario Kart, it would either be a new IP or ARMS 2, because ARMS ultimately did sell pretty well for a new IP. It's possible that whatever information this person had, maybe the lines got kind of crossed. Maybe they're making a new mech game. Maybe it's a new mech IP and not Custom Robo. I could believe that more than Custom Robo. Not that I'm against Custom Robo coming back. It's just specifically that team making it feels very, very weird to me. But this is what I'm talking about, man. We have so many hardware rumors, and now we're getting rumors of, oh, the ARMS team is making Custom Robo. That's so, even if that's not real, even if this is, a fake thing, that's an interesting talking point, and it's certainly an idea that I had never thought of, right? So let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of this Monolith Soft Nintendo crossover game? But also, what do you think of the ARMS team potentially making a new custom Robo? Very, very intriguing. And then a few third-party things here. They just said Assassin's Creed, no details given. So, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that Assassin's Creed, all of them, will be on Switch 2, because I think Shadows is the first one that's not on PS4, but you can imagine Ubisoft will want to get those, especially with how Ubisoft has been doing. They're going to want to launch on as many platforms as possible. So I think Shadows is almost a lock for the Switch 2. They said no Virtua Fighter 6 for Switch 2. This is what I'm saying though earlier. Like, how do they have all this hardware info, this first-party Nintendo info, and then also they know that there's not going to be a Virtua Fighter 6 port for Switch 2? That just feels weird to me. Virtua Fighter 6 is probably a 2026 game, I would say. At this point, we've seen very little of it. I feel like that's something that I don't know if this person would really know. Like, oh, yeah, Sega's not putting the new Virtua Fighter on Switch 2. It's possible. RGT has been very hesitant to support Nintendo. I mean, we got Kiwami now, but maybe they won't be there day and date quite so soon. But also, Virtua Fighter is like an online thing. I feel like there's even more of a pressing matter or a reason to get that on Switch 2 day and date with other platforms. So That's a little weird to me. Not sure how I feel about that. They said here, someone spotted a game that looked like Persona 5 Royal or Persona 5 Strikers. They're probably talking about the Persona 5X, the Phantom X or whatever it's called, that like a mobile game that's getting a console release that we don't really know much about, but it's also, I think it's also out in China, but it's getting a console release. It's going to get a Western release. I would imagine that's what they're talking about there, because Persona has a very visually distinct style, especially Persona 5. If you know anything about video games, you see that red and you know, oh, that's Persona 5. Same thing with the yellow or blue for Persona 4 and 3. And then finally here they said there was a Capcom internal demo of Resident Evil 7 for Switch 1, but it was eventually canceled. The poster speculated or hinted, question mark, that the RE series should come to Switch 2. So I think that goes without saying. We're going to see all these RE games come to Switch 2. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if RE4 Remake is, if not a launch title, certainly a year one, like very early port from the PS4, PS5 over to Switch 2, because if you've noticed, Resident Evil 7, 8, 2 Remake, 3 Remake, like all these games have cloud versions on the Nintendo Switch. Even like, I think like in 2021, a lot of those came out and got cloud versions. Maybe even more recently than that. Maybe it was 2022. RE2 and 3 and 8, those all happened like not even that long ago. But for some reason, they didn't do a cloud version of RE4, which is the most popular Resident Evil game. So the way I see it is the reason they didn't do that, the reason we didn't get a cloud version of that game is probably because RE4 Remake is going to be an early Switch 2 ports. And as for there being an internal demo of RE7 for Switch 1, that also makes sense. Early days of that console, they were certainly going to be trying things out. And, I think it was probably like late 2017, we got the cloud version of that, maybe early 2018. So that about lines up. They were working on it for a few months, and they were like, nah, let's just do a cloud version of RE7 that came out in Japan back then. And then it didn't get a Western cloud version until way later. But yeah, Capcom supporting Switch with Resident Evil, I don't think that's going to be a big surprise next generation when we actually get there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see RE9 on there, although apparently RE9 is like open world, so I don't know how likely that is. Will that be able to run very well? We will see, but I imagine we'll be getting RE7, 8, 2, 3, 4 Remake. Like those will almost certainly get native ports on the Switch 2, in my opinion. But yeah, it's an exciting time. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments down below. Do you believe these rumors from this Chinese forum user, or do you think it's all hocus pocus nonsense? Even if it's fake, I just feel like these rumors about specifically the Project Crosszone thing and Custom Robo, those are so interesting to me, and also Double Dash potentially as a mechanic coming back. Those are three very interesting things that I wanted to talk about them anyway, even if this does end up being fake. But as we get closer to a Switch 2 reveal, the likelihood of actual software information leaking is going to get higher. It's been very quiet for the past year or two, but I mean, even Switch 1, I mean, after the NX was revealed, we got rumors of, well, Pokemon Stars, which wasn't real, but also maybe kind of was real. And then also Mario Rabbids was leaked pretty early as well. So we're going to start hearing more about software in the coming days and weeks, I imagined. And I think it's going to be a wild ride over the next month or so as we seemingly get closer to the reveal of this console. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How are you feeling about this leak? Do you believe it? Do you not? I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe here, like I said, for more Nintendo Switch 2 theories, speculation, discussion, all that fun stuff. I'll have a video tomorrow. I'll have another Switch 2 video tomorrow. Basically, it's going to be daily Switch 2 content until the Switch 2 is announced. Just get ready for it. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, definitely subscribe and follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Until next time, folks. Peace.